Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the financial system, and basically in the financial system what we had started the payment and the settlement system. Okay, these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series, like starting with the introduction, then we have the national electronic fund transfer, then immediate payment service, real-time gross settlement, unified payment interface, and the conclusion. Okay, so you could say that these are the topics we had scheduled for the discussion under this particular series. So far, we have done with the introduction. Okay, we have completed the national electronic fund transfer. We have done the immediate payment service. We have done with the real-time gross settlement. And what we are left with two things: unified payment interface and the conclusion. Okay, so these are the topics we are left with. Okay, so basically in this lecture we are going to talk about the unified payment interface. But before this, I hope that you have revised the previous one in the well enough manner, because in this unified payment interface we are going to interconnect them all. Okay, we are going to conclude all of them and we are going to interconnect all of them. Okay, so if you haven't revised the previous one, so it will be hard for you to keep the things in your mind which we had discussed in this lecture, and as a result of which you may found yourself unable to connect with the things. Okay, so with this note, let's start this lecture. Okay, so basically in this lecture we are going to start with the unified payment interface. Okay, unified payment interface. So first we will start with the introduction. The UPI, in short it is known as the UPI, which stands for the Unified Payments Interface. It is a real-time payment service system developed by the National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, that facilitates instant fund transfers between two bank accounts on a mobile platform. So here are some things which we are required to identify. The first is the full form, right? Like Unified Payment Interface. The first is the full form. Okay. Second thing, if we discuss, is a real-time payment system. Okay. Third thing, if we identify, it is National Payments Corporation of India, which had developed this facility. And the fourth point is that it is available on the mobile phones or the mobile platforms. So these are the things which we require to highlight here. Okay. Thereafter, if we move forward, first we will take the introduction, then I will give you the overview in the detailed form. UPI allows users to link multiple bank accounts to a single mobile application, enabling them to make payments, check balances, and performing other banking transactions seamlessly. Okay, so basically if we you can say connect these things. So here are some words, like if we just write the full form: Unified Payment Interface. Okay, you could say if we just write the full form. Okay, so in this full form, what you are understanding? It means that the first is unified, signifies that many things have been arranged. Many things have been arranged together. Thereafter, the next word is the interface. Interface means platform connecting different things. Okay, so by definition, you can say by the full form, we could conclude some things about the UPI. Like first is the many things have been arranged together. That's why it's a unified. Okay. Thereafter, interface. It means platform connecting different things. And the payment signifies that usually use for making or receiving payments. All right. So basically, if by seeing the unified interface, if we come here to the official definition, then what we are seeing? We are seeing that this allows users to link multiple bank accounts to a single mobile application, enabling them to make payments, okay, check balances, all right, and perform other banking transactions seamlessly. Okay, so this is basically signifies the unification. Okay, because here you are just not only using it for making payments or receiving payments and whatsoever. You are using it for the payments, you are checking your bank balances, okay, either you are performing the other banking transactions, okay. So that's why it is known as the unification. And why it is called as an interface? Because it is usually used to link multiple bank accounts to a single mobile application. For example, suppose if this is you, okay, you having the accounts in the HDFC, SBI, okay, Axis Bank, all right, Yes Bank. So suppose you having the account in these 4 banks, okay. So if you are using any you can say the other payment systems like the NEFT you are using, like the RTGS you are using, like the IMPS you are using, okay. So if you're using them, then you have to deal with these banks on the individual basis. Individual basis. Like if you go with the HDFC for NEFT, you are only required to connect and the contact with the HDFC. Okay. If you are shifting yourself to the SBI by using the NEFT, then you have to repeat the entire process. Why? Because the NEFT process which was initiated in the HDFC will not be admitted and supported by the State Bank of India, okay, or the SBI. That is the main cause. But if you are using the UPI, so in UPI, your mobile application mobile application will provide you the access to all the banks at a single time. Okay, the biggest example of this, suppose you are using your phone and you are making some payment somewhere, all right. So maybe sometimes it is happen with you also, like while you are making the payment, okay, and you having these accounts. So suppose the SBI is not having that much of balance which you are required to pay. For example, you are supposed to pay rupees 2000, but your SBI only having rupees 1500. So what is the condition? The condition is insufficiency of funds, right? So what will happen? The bank will decline the transaction, right? But if you are using the NEFT, RTGS and IMPS, so if you are shifting to the HDFC, Axis or the Yes Bank, then you're required to repeat the entire process. But in the UPI, if by using the mobile application you found that your SBI does not having that much of balance which you are required to make the payment, then you could easily select the other bank like the HDFC, like the Axis, like the Yes Bank, and you could initiate the process from where you have left in the SBI. You are not required to restart the process. Why? Because all of these banks have been combined together. Okay. And through UPI, you are getting the platform to access all these banks from single window. Okay. That is the UPI. Okay. And that's why it is called as an interface. Why? Because through one single application, you could access all the services with different banks. Okay. So now I hope that the concept of the unification and the interface has been cleared in your mind. Okay. UPI has gained popularity in India for its convenience, speed, and security. It is widely used for various purposes such as peer to peer transfers, bill payments, online shopping, and more. Okay, so you could see that it is not only applicable for receiving or sending payments. Not only applicable for receiving or sending payments, but it is much more than it. Like you could not only use for this, but you could also making the bill payments. Okay, you could also use it for the online shopping and other thing. Okay, it means that various things you could do by your own or by using the one single application. That's what is known as the unified. Okay, so here we have finished the you can say the introduction. Okay, now we are going to start with the history. But before this, let me ask you one single question, which should arise in your mind also. Like the question is, why do we need UPI when we had, or you can say when we already had other payments option? Okay, so why do we need UPI? Basically, there are many reasons for it. Like if we go, or you can say if we start with it. So first is the simplicity. Okay. Second is the interoperability. Okay. Third is instant transfer. Fourth is security. And the fifth is innovation and competition. Okay. So these five ways are the main reason why did we had to establish the UPI when we already had the other payments option. Okay. Like go by the first one, which is known as the simplicity. So what do you mean by the simplicity? Basically, if you ever use the UPI, okay, so it is very easy. You are required to, you can say mention the UPI ID, all right, or just a number, or you can say, or you are just required to scan some QR code and all, and then you could easily make a payment. Okay, it's not like you are required to fulfill the details, you are required to check them all, you are required to do some other things. No, you are just required to fill the basic requirements and the you can say the information, and then you will be eligible to make the payments. So it is very simple. Thereafter, next is the interoperability. Okay, interoperability means what? Interoperability simple say means you can say like, suppose if we were using the banks like the SBI, the HDFC, the Axis, the Yes Bank. Okay, so because the UPI provides an interface and connects all of them through the one single portal. So if you are using these banks for making some payments, and you can say by chance that some of the bank does not having that much of balance which is required, then you could easily switch to the other bank and you could continue your process from where you have left it. You are not required to restart this process. So it is an interoperability. Okay. Thereafter, instant transfer, it is in the real time. It means that once the sender's account debit, at the same time receiver account credit. Okay, there is no time lag. Okay, like you could say the sender's account debit at 12 p.m. but receiver account is credited at 1 p.m. No, instantly on the real time. So that's why it is known for the instant transfer. Okay, thereafter the security. It is a secure means why we will discuss in the upcoming slides. Okay, thereafter innovation and the competition. What is the meaning of this? Innovation and the competition. So basically what happened that the you can see the other systems which we have like the national electronic fund transfer, like the real time gross settlement, like the immediate payment service, all these systems which we had, they are outdated, because as we know that the financial sphere or the economy of any country is dynamic. Okay, the things are changing so fast. So if we are not updating ourselves as per the requirement, somehow we will be lacking in the future for the development purposes. Okay, that was the same thing which was happening with us. Okay, the things or the ways which we were using, they were outdated in comparison with the modern world or the modern economy requirements. Okay, that's why we are required to you could say establish something like the UPI. Okay, so that we could you can say positioned ourselves at the world competition. And why it is innovation, we will tell you. Okay, why it is known as the innovation. So after you can say finding out the reasons why we had to establish the UPI when we already had the other payment and the transfer system, now we are required to look at the history. Okay, following the establishment of the National Payment Corporation of India in 2009, the RBI noted that only 6 cash transactions were occurring per individual citizen annually in India, with 10 million retailers accepting card payments. So, what is here? If we basically look at this thing, okay, so what this thing signifies? We know that the founding body of the UPI is NPCI. Okay, so let's first talk about the NPCI. So NPCI basically stands for the National Payment Corporation of India. Okay, NPCI. Okay, so if we try to conclude the, or you can say try to find out the establishment of the NPCI, so basically we have to go to the December 2008. That was a time of December 2008. Okay, when the Indian economy was need, and you can say we were in the need of establishing the umbrella organization for payment and settlement purposes. For example, suppose there are certain banks, bank A, B, C, D, E, F. This is the first situation. Okay, what these banks are doing? These banks are communicating individually. Okay, like this. Okay, So if you just look at this thing, what you are seeing here, it is transaction web, right? Because these banks are communicated by their individual basis. Okay, so if any dispute occurs for the transaction and the settlement purposes, okay, so where they go, how this thing will be resolved. Okay, because remember, whenever there is a dispute between the two parties, their requirement is the intermediator. There is always a requirement for the intermediator. Why? Because the intermediator will be the person who will listen to them and who will provide the solution, because the disputed parties will always be try to satisfy their interests instead of concluding the common you can say conclusion or the result. Okay, so that was the thing. Prior to December 2008 we did not having any kind of intermediator. Okay, however we having the Reserve Bank of India to control, but Reserve Bank of India is already occupied at some very places. So that's why the efficiency of this thing was you can say harming. Okay, so that's why what happened, that was the time period of December 2008 when the NPCI was established. Okay, and NPCI created the picture like this. Okay, so if we go by this particular thing, all right, so okay, so basically all the transactions which these banks are required, the banks are required to communicate with the NPCI. Okay, then the NPCI will work accordingly. Okay, so if now if any you can say dispute arises for the payment and the settlement, so they are required to go to the NPCI. NPCI will work as an intermediator and the NPCI will resolve the issue, which thing was not available in this transaction web. Okay, because already the transactions you can say are combined in such a manner that it is hard to trace and find out from where the transaction initiated, where they ended. Okay, that was the reason why the NPCI was established. But if we just look at it, so the NPCI is basically the corporation. Okay, and we know that every corporation in India is required to register itself into two laws: Companies Act 1952 or the Company Act 2013. Okay, so basically if we talk about the NPCI, so NPCI was basically established as per the Companies Act 2013. Remember this thing. Okay, Companies Act 2013 established the NPCI, and every establishment or you can say every corporation required the two promoters. Okay, for the establishment. So who are the two promoters of the NPCI? The first is the Reserve Bank of India, also known as RBI. Okay, and second is the Indian Banks Association, IBA. Okay, these two are the promoters of the NPCI which established the NPCI. Okay, and basically in December 2008 the process was initiated under the Companies Act 2013, and in the year of 2009 finally the NPCI was established as an umbrella organization for the payment and the settlement purposes like this. Okay, so here we know the Reserve Bank of India, but what's about the IBA or the Indian Banking Association? So remember, there is a one thing, that the IBA or the Indian Banking Association is unregistered and voluntary organizations for banks present in Mumbai. Okay, so Indian Banking Association is basically the unregistered and the voluntary organization. It means that no bank is required on the compulsory basis to be the member of the IBA. It is totally depend upon the bank's choice whether they want to or not. Okay, so that's why it is unregistered, because it is just an voluntary organization. It is not like some corporation and you can say some NGO. Okay, so that's how the NPCI was established. Got it? Okay. So what happened when we you can say establish the NPCI? So when the data is starting getting to the RBI, okay. So what RBI found out? RBI find out that the online transactions were not in a good sense. Okay, like only the 6 non-cash transactions were occurring per individual citizen annually in India. Okay, with 10 million retailers accepting card payments. Okay, so RBI wanted, you can say, to promote the non-cash transactions. Why? Because always remember, whenever the non-cash transactions you can say started, so they always started on the digital form, right? So it is easy to check out the history or to check out the transaction from where it was initiated, from where it was ended. Okay, but when we are talking about the cash transactions, then they are on the offline basis. There is no authenticated record. For example, suppose if I am you can say running an auto rickshaw, okay, and you have come to me, you have taken the ride from somewhere and the fare is rupees 50. Okay, so if you are paying me online, so you are using your UPI, okay, UPI app. I have my UPI app, so the transaction will be recorded that rupees 50 has been provided or has been paid from you to me. Okay, but if you are providing me the cash, only me and you know that you have provided me the cash. Okay, but there is no official record of it. Okay, which is you can say very harmful from the point of view of national security and the terrorism, and you can say for the tax avoidance and the income assurance. Okay, that's why the RBI was in the mood to promote the online transactions, which were only 6 transactions per person annually, and these were not in the good sense as per the economics point of view. Okay, so students, basically in this lecture we have completed till now. In the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, just revise all the facts and figures we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.